Quick question, what does having your trousers fall down, tripping up over in the street, and my parents' emotional state when I told them that I'd be going back to uni to do an English Masters all have in common? Humiliation. Abject humiliation. It's a quite common, if unpleasant, emotion in this day and age. I mean, you get called out for liking a bad film, or even getting a name wrong on a list will likely elicit a wave of people pointing and laughing at you, and you can't even escape this roasting from your video games, in which time and time again, video game villains will attempt to make you the laughing stock of their digital realms. Killing your friends, pushing you off cliffs, and taunting you to your wit's end is enough reason to seek vengeance. But the games on this list offer something more, as they let you go beyond revenge and they let you humiliate your enemies. Oh yes, they do. So I thought, why not rope in my mortal enemy Ash Millman to help co-host this list. Therefore, with this in mind, I'm Jules.
And I'm Ash.
And these are 10 video game villains you completely humiliated. Number 10, Persona 5 Kamoshida. Technically, I could have put any of the Persona 5 bosses on this list, as the entire concept of the game is about making people confess to their horrible crimes, and I do mean horrible. However, for me, it was to be the opening boss, Kamoshida, who wields his authority as a volleyball coach to manipulate his students, overwork his team, and hog all the glory in the process. However, these all pale in comparison to his actions towards female students, as it's revealed that not only does he harass Anne and aim to make her his obedient sex slave, as shown through his internal representation of Princess Anne within his mind palace, but it's also implied that he sexually violated one of Anne's friends, Shio, which led her to attempt to commit suicide. He's a piece of work, right?
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, because after you utterly destroy his internal representation within the palace, he will publicly confess to his crimes, acknowledge his actions, and then be taken away. It doesn't undo the damage, but it stops it, and his career is over.
Yeah, fuck that guy. 9. Muggshot, Sly Raccoon. If there's a bunch of video game villains that absolutely get what's coming to them, it is definitely the Fiendish Five. Considering they're a bunch of anthropomorphic cartoon animals in a kid-friendly game, they really push the whole dark past thing to its limits, murdering Sly Cooper's entire family and divvying up his heirlooms to build a crime cartel off of the back of. Bit much, really. Whilst all of them have their own particular takedowns, thanks to Sassy Sly and the thieving trio having precisely enough of their bullshit as they reclaim Sly's lost heritage, the second villain of the game, Muggshot, falls particularly hard when you smack him into the next dimension with your cane. And oh boy, is it satisfying. A roid-headed bulldog that gets off on being massive, Muggshot's whole shtick is calling you puny whilst he hops around on his giant biceps. In his final boss battle though, you outsmart him by flipping mirrors in his face that then heat up his pistols 3 times in a row, with Muggshot effectively own-goaling himself in the process. The smarmy joy of being a tiny little raccoon that undermines Muggshot and his whole gangster operation is second to none. And all the better for proving his stupid ass, well, particularly stupid. Carmelita Fox, take him away.
Number 8, Borderlands 2, Professor Nakayama. Borderlands as a franchise is known for its bosses, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Some are hulking behemoths, others are fire-spewing forces of nature, and then there's Professor Nakayama, a small, frail, and ultimately balding man who dogs your adventures in the Hammerlock Hunt DLC. No, you leave him alone. As revenge for killing his idol, Handsome Jack, Nakayama will do everything he can to stop the Vault Hunters, putting you into a fair few sticky situations. Therefore, when you meet him for the final showdown, there's a latent want to end his pipe-cleaner thin life. It's a shame then that he falls down the stairs during his boss intro, breaking all of his bones and dying before the boss battle even begins. Oh, okay. How embarrassing. Now, true, this isn't an example of the player inflicting the damage, but my lord, how can you look at this and not get second-hand embarrassment from these events?
7. The Electrocutioner, Batman Arkham Origins. For such a badass name, you'd think someone like the Electrocutioner would have some pretty badass moves to be pulling on Batman that would make for a fair and interesting fight between Shocky McShockhands and the living Bat, but no such luck. Finding this fella in Batman Arkham Origins is perhaps the worst thing that happens to him, as the electricity-ridden baddie goads Batman into a fight, only to get his ass handed to him in front of an entire audience of hopped-up villains. Unfortunate that. Early in the game, Batman steps into the homemade fighting ring on Penguin's ship, pushed to knock some villains out to get the information he's searching for on Black Mask. The Electrocutioner starts giving it some mouth, thinking that because he's got lightning for fists that he's hot shit and will easily bat away the gravelly-voiced superhero. But with one swift kick to the jaw from Batman's stomping boots, he knocks the Electrocutioner flat on his back, leaving him out cold for the rest of the battle whilst he sparks pitifully on the floor. But you then chuck him out a window to his death later in the game to really finish him off, just add salt to the wound, really.
Number 6. The Orphans, The Warriors. The Warriors video game is one of the finest adaptations of a film I've ever played, expanding on the mythos of the main story and providing hours of brutal beatdowns and bopping head banging. It also gives you a hilarious expression of how ready to rumble the Warriors are when they go toe-to-toe with the Orphans and their leader, Sonny. You see, the issue is simple. The Warriors want to go through the Orphans' territory. The Orphans, thanks to Mercy acting like a chicken and provoking them, make that an issue. What is revealed later is that the Orphans even claim to have wasted the Warriors and are taking credit for the hit. This can't stand. And so, in quite possibly one of the most satisfying sections of the game, you get to absolutely dismantle the outfit fist by fist. In fact, I've not seen someone take down this many men since Wendy Millman at Orgy Gorgy 2005. The Orphans drop all over the shop, and I'm sure to leave a smile on your face at their humiliation, just like I did with her. And also, yes, that was my one for list. Also, hi, Wendy!
No! You can't name drop Wendy! 5. Baldur, God of War. One of the best games released this generation, God of War kicks things off in style by introducing Kratos to the Stranger, an arrogant, psychopathic, and wholly sadistic weirdo with an affinity for getting the shit kicked out of him. Wanting nothing more than to actually feel the hell he puts his body through, the story of said stranger, later revealed as Baldur, is tragic. But the way he goes about dealing with the hand that life dealt him is just really bloody irritating. The man is a grade A asshole, a whiner, and consistently comes to bother Kratos and Atreus on their journey just to get pummeled into the floor. But you do get the better of him eventually, and it's not before humiliating him entirely as you attempt to escape Helheim. That is so much H's and M's. Flashing back to his past, Baldur is shown getting some serious mommy problems when faced up with the spell his mother Freya casts upon him that means nothing can hurt him. He turns into a snivelling wreck, unhinged in his whinging ways that then manifest again by the end of the battle where he goads Kratos into killing him once and for all. And it's only with a real crappy neck snap as well. It's a sad arc, and not without its pity, but snapping the neck of the god that has been giving it the big un throughout the whole game is just really embarrassing, really.
Number 4. Calypso, Twisted Metal Head On. One of the most popular characters in the Twisted Metal series is, at once strangely and also at the same time totally fitting, a serial killer clown called Needles Kane, also affectionately referred to as Sweet Tooth. Throughout the vehicular carnage of these titles, one thing remains constant: Calypso, the creator of the Twisted Metal contest and all-around arsehole who just loves to make people fight to the death in exchange for a single wish. A wish, I might add, that he always twists in some form or another. Needles clocks on to this, however, and in Twisted Metal Head On, he asks not for power or glory, but to switch bodies with Calypso himself, which he is forced to grant. Once switched, Needles demands that they kill this intruder and chuck away his old body. Then he smiles and asks, "Where's my women?" capping off the horrible humiliation he's just served one of the most powerful deities in the series.
3. Floated into space. Tekken. Heihachi Mishima's ending in Tekken 6 is one of the biggest banter-offs the game offers up, with his cinematic moment at the close of the game seeing him boot out Jin Kazama and Kayusa Mishima from space. Because, of course it does. Still donning his little getter sandals even in the cold depths of the great beyond, he prepares his family for a death by floating by tying them up and kicking them out into the stratosphere. But they aren't about to go down without a fight. Or at least, Kazuya isn't, since Jin seems perfectly happy disappearing into the void without so much as a bye, bitch. It might sound like this has nothing to do with Heihachi's humiliation, but oh, how wrong you would be to think that. As Kazuya is launched into orbit, he manages to kick Heihachi just hard enough to displace his balance, meaning that he tumbles out of the spacecraft with him, and all three idiots are condemned to be burned up into shooting stars for Ganryu to make a wish on. It's not the canon ending, but it is an entertaining one that you earn as a little treat on the side, and serves Heihachi wonderfully after his turn for a beating in the scenario campaign.
Number 2. Dr. Neo Cortex, Crash Twinsanity. Poor old Dr. Cortex, he's definitely a case of a villain that's made life tough for himself, having created Crash Bandicoot, which proves to be his undoing countless times throughout his mainstay run in the series. From being thrown out of his own space station to being left to freeze at the end of Wrath of Cortex, it seemed that Cortex was no stranger to humiliation. However, that was nothing when compared to Crash Twinsanity. In this game, Cortex has his brain removed, is stung by bees, used as a surfboard, used as a living hammer because of his flat head, and even at the end of all of this, beamed right inside his most hated creation's very brain. It's like watching someone get tortured, and the worst part about all of this humiliation is that it's actually quite funny. Sorry, mate.
1. Elvis, God Hand. Packed full of over-the-top characters and comedy stylings, God Hand has a bit of everything if you're looking for a side of laughter whilst you have a wholesome time smacking demons up. From explosive robots to rockers that have sold their soul to get sweet power to a wrestling gorilla, there's plenty of weirdness populating the God Hand world, but none quite as iconic as the demon Elvis. Large and in charge, Elvis wears an ill-fitting white suit and some absolutely ridiculous beads round his neck, which would be worryingly big, but I've seen just how much Jules' mom can put away in her trunk, and let me tell you, that ain't nothing. Gaping asshole, baby! Shout out to Joe Lorraine!
You goddamn bitch. You realise this is escalation now. Whatever you put in, whenever I invite you in, I'm going to take this further. I will be your new dad.
And that is my one per list, bitch! One of the 4 main antagonists of the game, Gene meets him after he's taken over a town and sent his dancers after him, resulting in a fight that sees Elvis try and upgrade into his demon form. Only he doesn't quite manage it. Popping a squat and attempting to grunt his way there, Elvis instead falls halfway through the floor and gets himself wedged, meaning Gene can deliver a swift heel drop to his head and carry on his merry way unprohibited by the dirty demon. Good.
And there we have it. 10 video game bosses that you could completely humiliate. And apologies to our mothers who are probably very, very humiliated right now. I know that your mum's used to it, but my mum isn't. She's actually quite a nice woman, in fact. If you've got any other suggestions, then please drop them down in the comments section below, as well as any of your thoughts out there. Who won the one per list battle this time around? I'm sure that Ash will be back invading my lists with her puerile filth sometime soon. And if you want to follow us, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter for myself, and
mine is at Ash Millman.
Until next time, remember guys, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!
Bye!